This is Making Light. Julie Hurt and Kate Fogger are soul-level intuitives and animal communicators. This show is about us sharing our experiences in the hope it will help others along their path. So let's go make some light.
Hey everybody, my name's Kate Fogger. This is Julie Hurt. We're having a laugh. We are also making light. This week we are talking about people pleasing in the context of another favourite negative belief. Are there any that are not? That's what I wonder. This one being not good enough. So it's a subtle one between not good enough and not worthy, but I think we can get to that. Not good enough generally for me is like when you work really, really hard because it's perfectionism not in all its forms, or not feeling that you measure up in some way. So what we've been doing is taking a theme every month, this month, November, people pleasing, a theme that we think we use as a workaround. A workaround is language we use in soul level intuitive coaching, which is a behavior that we exhibit or do repeatedly in order to cover up the negative feelings around our negative beliefs, the bad feelings around negative beliefs. So your negative beliefs that we recognize are not worthy, not good enough, not safe, supported and protected, and not lovable. And most things that we feel will fall into one of those four categories. There are some overlaps, and obviously there's overlaps between those, and quite often one negative belief will, you rarely get just one. But so the workaround is the behavior that you do in order to alleviate your feeling around this negative belief. And that's essentially the work that we do in soul level intuitive coaching. So we make you aware of your workaround, the negative belief behind it. And as you become more aware of how this workaround comes up in your life, it tends to loosen things off. So there's no forcing. You can't force behavior to change. Now it's actually all about awareness, and eventually get to the point where you go, oh my God, I'm mental, in a nice way, kind way, compassionate way, and that quite often will loosen off negative beliefs. So we are talking about people pleasing, which both Julie and I are very not fond of, but it's not the right word, is it?
We're savvy with the people pleasing. We're savvy.
It's a very overused term now, and I think it's good. Most people have some awareness of what it means. But as I said last week, I think it's a lot more subtle than people realize. It's not always this bowing and scraping, and there are very subtle ways. And this is the beauty actually of doing this work, is as your awareness grows, you can see so many other ways of how this affects us and how it creeps into your life. And it isn't necessarily obvious. My people pleasing, I would say, is a lot more sophisticated. It's not about overtly giving people what they want. There's a lot of orchestrating behind the scenes to make sure that people are taken care of, things like that. So it's not necessarily the obvious bowing and scraping that you think it might be. So I did come up with one thing. Since I've done the introduction, we'll get Julie to start. Julie, take it away with, let's hear it for people pleasing and not good enough.
So I was talking with my guides this morning, because as I'm getting ready for this episode, and all right, guides, help me see where I've used people pleasing when I haven't been feeling good enough about myself. And my guides all jump in and they're like, book clubs. And I'm like, what? So I'm a huge reader, right? I love reading books. But there was a point in my life, right now I am not a part of, I'm just double checking. I'm not a part of any double book clubs, except that I do follow what Oprah's book club is reading. And every now and then I will jump in and read along, although I can never quite get the book from the library fast enough, which is also part of it too. Anyway, but there was a time in my life where I was a member of 3 or 4 book clubs. So I was consistently having to read something that other people wanted to read. Many times I did not. And also read it within a deadline. So I would be reading multiple books, which is also, I don't like reading multiple books at any given time. I like to focus. so I am in a book club. I just remembered I am in one book club, and it's okay because we go super slow and it's all good. But anyway, but at the time I was having to read all these books that I do, like Oprah book club. I had this other book club, which was all these women that were all older than I was, and it was phenomenal. I learned so much from them. Excuse me. And then I think I was part of one at work, and then I had another one, I don't know. And most of the books, it just didn't want to read. And so I've learned over the years too, that it used to be that if I started a book and I didn't like it, I would power through. Now it's like, if I don't like the book, I'm like, pfft, and I'm not even in all. So there's that. I want to make sure I stay focused on my thoughts. But this people pleasing for not good enough, I felt like I needed to belong to these book clubs. I felt like I needed to read all the books that these other people wanted me to read. I felt like in order to be good enough, I had to like participate in these. I'm also not that social of a person, meaning I don't really I'm more of an introvert. I get my energy from staying home and all that stuff. I don't get re-energized by going outside, and I mean by going and hanging out with other people. So it kind of worked on a couple of different things. What?
Thanks very much, Julie.
What?
I'm other people.
Well, no, but I mean, like, you go out, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't like I mean, it doesn't matter. We don't have to get into what I used to do in the 80s, which there's another story there, which I won't go down that rabbit hole. Anyway, my point is, I would end up reading all these books and participating in all these social events in an effort to please people, because I did not feel like I was good enough to just do what I wanted to do, or read what I wanted to read, or learn what I wanted to learn. Like, I had to know what everyone else was reading and everyone else was doing. And so that was the example my guides gave me this morning.
That's
So
a very, very good example, Julie.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Look at me. People pleasing because I don't feel good enough. Yay.
It's funny, isn't it? Because like you're using language around it. Like, you voluntarily join these book clubs, and then you're using language like, all these books I have to read, somebody else's schedule, you know, and it's like, whoa, you signed up for this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my example is not as obvious as that, and I'm still struggling. I'm pretty sure it is a form of, is it people pleasing? So right, I have a not good enough around my home, in the sense that I am not particularly I'm trying not to use words that Gary would use. I'm not particularly house proud. I don't like dirt, but I don't really care about a mess. I mean, I'm different now, I think, because having lived with Gary so long, it's just so tiresome that I just do clear up after myself all the time, because otherwise he'll sweep it into a drawer or something. It's really annoying trying to unpick things. So I don't like mess and stuff like that, but I'm not, at least I didn't think I was particularly house proud, but I do always feel that I fall short compared to other people in terms of the housework and stuff like that. And like when we have guests and things like that, I remember a neighbour of ours, she was a friend and she was also an artist, and we had bought one of her paintings. It was the first big purchase painting we ever had, so it was a couple of £1,000. Like, we'd never spent money like that. It was a big painting, and we had it above our bed, and we wanted her to come and see it, because it's always really nice for an artist to actually see their paintings in situ. And I remember looking at our bed, like, we had a really nice bed, I have really nice sheets and that, but like, I don't iron. Does anyone iron bedding? I don't know. But I do know that if you do iron bedding, it actually looks really lovely. And I remember making a comment about I didn't iron the sheets. She looked at me absolutely appalled as to why would anyone ever do that. But I realised that's the sort of people pleasing I wanted I wanted her to, you see, is that people pleasing, Julia, or is that just me wanting her to see it in the best possible light? Like, once I'd got my head fixed on I needed to iron the sheets, I couldn't get past the fact that the sheets looked, you know, 'cause if you've just got a duvet, nobody has bed covers anymore, so there's just a duvet. Is that people pleasing, wanting to tidy up before people come around? I think it is.
You think it is? I do too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I think you're looking for someone else's judgment, favorable judgment
Yes, that's true.
on yourself because you don't feel good enough to do it. Yeah, just like, yeah,
So
going to all these book clubs.
I realize I do that quite a lot, even with when my sister's coming. I will run around the house and do things that I would never normally do in order to make it nice, because I want, in my mind, I'm doing it because I want it to be nice for her. It's not because of, it doesn't feel to me like I'm being obsequious and that, but actually I am, as you say, trying to create a favorable impression because I want it to look nice, because I want to show my appreciation, but actually it's not so much showing my appreciation as feeling like how my stuff normally isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was the example I came up with.
You know, what's interesting to me is like, why, like the cleaning of the house, and we do it to please people. And also almost like the shadow side, you know how like with the other people pleasing, I got to the shadow part of it somehow, but it's almost like there's a little shadow aspect to it in that I want my house to look really good. So there is people pleasing, but I also want you to judge me favorably outside looking in. And I'm curious why I guess why I don't do that for myself. Why don't, you know what I mean?
Well, do you know what? I think we would if we had unlimited time, because I like a nice house.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
You see, when Gary goes away, and that's definitely people pleasing, because I mean, I would argue, for me, it feels like I'm just being a nice person because it's nice to come home to a clean house. But there is actually a bit of panic in me, because Gary's got such a thing about me being not so much messy. He thinks I'm dirty, which I actually find really irritating because I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But because I don't care about certain things, like, he'll follow me around the house and say, "Have you washed your hands when I've handled the chickens and that?" And I'm just like, that really, really irritates me, because it's like, I'm a fucking grown up. Of course I washed my hands. And if I didn't wash my hands, it's because I didn't put them up their asses. You know what I mean? It's like he treats me like a child. Like,
Yeah.
and that's come about because I realize I've probably made it worse because I deliberately do things to annoy him. Like, I'll deliberately drink out of a milk bottle because I know it really annoys him. Things like that, because he can be really prissy about things. But I would not put my fucking hand up a chicken's ass and not wash my hands. There is quite a big difference. There's a huge difference. So it's things like that, but it's become such a thing that I go overboard if he goes away to make sure the house is really nice when he comes back.
Yeah.
Which is really thinking about it, because why do I feel I need to impress him almost? Like, he's lived with me for 20 years. Like, if he really felt that strongly about it, he'd have fucked off by now, wouldn't he? But there is this almost childlike desire to show that I am not a dirty midden, which is a lovely Scottish word.
What is it? Dirty midden?
Midden. I'm pretty sure it's Scots. I'm gonna look it up now.
How do you spell it?
MIDDN.
Oh, okay.
I'll look up midden.
Okay.
Okay. A dunghill or a refuse heap. What does midden mean in Scotland? The word midden is anything that is in a mess, a muddle, or chaos. There you go.
All right. New word, everybody. That's cool. Yeah, like I can't stand clutter. So my bookshelf is rather cluttered. So I actually have a bit of time coming up here, and I'm going to be going through this room, Brad's closet. I just went through my closet over yesterday. I'm going to start pulling stuff out. And then while Brad is gone, he's going away for a week, I'm going to take all the stuff to the Goodwill, which is the thrift store we have here in the States, and donate a bunch of stuff, because it's like, I don't need all this stuff. So I'm going to try and get rid of a number of things. That's my goal.
So you get rid of Brad's stuff when he's not there?
No, I'll get approval. I'll get approval before I go. I've done that before, and it doesn't pay. He doesn't miss it until he misses it. And then it's like, and it's years, like it'll be years. And then he realizes that he doesn't have his glow in the dark skeleton t-shirt anymore. And he wonders where it went. And I'm like, I don't know, but of course I know, because I know where everything is. Anyway.
So here's the thing, Mrs. Which might be slightly, well, it's not completely off topic because it's definitely not good enough, right?
Yeah.
Why, Mrs. Not Good Enough? When you have the opportunity to be alone in the house and do nice things, to lie around in the bath and candles and watch what you want on telly and, you know, do all those things that you don't get to do, however much we love our partners, there's a lot to be said for having time on your own. And you have scheduled in a whole fucking pile of work.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's another topic. We'll have to come back to that one because that's a different negative. That's a different workaround behavior.
It is.
Over,
It's the same
hey,
negative
overwork.
belief, though.
Say what?
It's the same negative belief. It is a different work. It's a different. It's more of an
Yeah.
overwork thing. But there's a. But it is. I've talked before about. Can't remember her name. Journalist. Caitlin Moran. And she talks about that. You know, like when men have time on their own. If Brad has time on his own, he'll probably watch sports. He might arrange to see his friends. Whatever. He'll watch films that you don't want to watch. He'll watch blokey TV and all of that. And when women have time, we learn French, or we better ourselves, or we reorganize our kitchen cupboards, or we throw, you know, why? And then we moan that we never have any free time.
I know. I am actually, just to, before we come back to the people pleasing, I am actually taking the week to write and really get working on my book. I just know I'm not going to sit in front of a computer. There's a whole nother, I just read something about our eyeballs are changing shape the more screen time we have, but that's another topic. Anyway, but that's my main thing. But I know, like, when I need some downtime, if you will, or I need to do something physical, that's the one thing I'm allowing myself to do, is to go through and get rid of stuff. Not overhauling, not deep cleaning, although I would, but I don't want to. So anyway, yeah. But why? But it's, you know, what was the shadow part of, oh, the cleaning part? That's how I'm like, where did we go to this? Yeah. So, but to do it for ourselves, like to clean this house just for myself, I actually will do the thing. Like, for me, what happens for me is another workaround behavior comes into play, which is either overwork or putting myself last. Which is something that I'm also working through right now too, where I will, for the longest time, and it's been better this in 2023 for me. I've seen improvements where I will have a huge to-do list, and I'll make sure that everything, and none of it has to do with my business or doing any of this stuff that grows my business, my income, but I'll make sure Lucas has the right food. I'll make sure we have the right food. I'll make sure the house is clean and the laundry's done and the bed is made and the house is swept and then the outside and Lucas has walked, and I'll make sure everything is taken care of. And then it's time for me. And by then I'm ready to go to sleep. So, I actually just did an animal messages for November video that talks that the animals were talking about this too, that now it's like to put ourselves first. So it's interesting. Like, that to me is like, I would spend so much more time cleaning the house, because anytime I see a dog hair, I call them dog hair tumbleweeds. I would be like, oh my gosh, I drop everything, gotta vacuum. No, I gotta do that first. And now I'm doing the reverse. And I'm like, oh, look, that dog hair tumbleweed's been there for 3 days now. And I start to get tired of looking at it, and then, I'll vacuum. And I am actually also asking Brad to do more things when he comes home from work, instead of, hey, can you help me do this stuff, instead of me taking it all on myself, because I wasn't feeling also good enough. Oh, the guides are like, ooh, see how we backed you in there? Because I wouldn't, he would come home from work and I'm like, oh, well, you're earning more money than I am, so you sit on the couch. And then he would do freelance work. So let me make dinner after I've worked on, done all this all day long. And I've been up since you have, and all, but I would not ask for help. And now I'm asking for help.
Do you know what was I reading?
Elise Lunan, by chance? No.
Elise Lunan. I think it was. When I see women who make no apology for the demands they put on their spouse, I think they're horrible people. And yet it's exactly, we are it's so ingrained in us. My not horrible people, that's far too, that's too strong words, but I'm sort of like, oh my God, where do you get the nerve to do that? And it's like, but there are women who feel entitled to ask their spouses. There are women who don't work and expect their spouses to contribute in the house, whereas I am like you in a sense that because Gary's working and making money, his time is more valuable. And yet there's a bit of me, because as I've discussed before, Gary and I don't share money, so actually he's not supporting me. It's taken me a long time to get around. It's like, so even if it were true, and it's and the thing is, it shouldn't matter anyway, but even if I follow the conventions and go, it's sort of a bit of me going, well, you may work hard, but I personally am not benefiting from that at all. So why does that come out of my time? It's taken me a long time, and it's a really hard way to look at things. It's like, but but there is this my nephew's girlfriend, and this is not actually about asking someone to do something for it, but like, she's very outspoken, and she just says what she thinks, and and there's a bit of it goes, and then another bit of it goes, you go, girl. But there's this tiny bit of me that's terrified inside that someone's going to call her out, and go, who the hell do you think you are? I mean, they obviously have a different relationship, but there's a bit of me that's appalled, and then another bit of me that goes, fucking right, good on you. But it's the audacity of somebody asking for what they want. It's unthinkable, isn't it? And we automatically see women like that. And I think at least Lunan's, the phrase she used was women who are all that, and just leaves it hanging there, because we all know what that means. Like women who, I don't know, who expect men to wait in them hand and foot and want to be treated like a princess. It's just mind blowing to me. Like, and then I think, what's happened to me? That I don't feel I'm entitled to anything.
No. Brad said last time we were taking a walk, and Brad said I don't know what we were talking about. I don't even know. I can't, they're not showing me what we were talking about, the guides, but he did turn to me and say, don't you ever want to be treated like a princess?
Interesting.
And I'm like, no, I don't think I do. I think because that just has a really weird, I think we've just put a really weird connotation on it and everything, but I don't think I want to be a princess. He's like, no, you want to be a queen. And I'm like, damn straight.
Yes. But it was actually in the Goop. Did you watch the Goop? I can't remember what it was called. Goop series. I don't know if it was one, but there was one where they were going through was it sexuality? Part of it was sexuality, but they just did this really simple exercise. I'm sure I've told you this, where girls were giving other girls, well, it didn't really matter because it was all women, but they were giving each other hand massages, where you had to ask for what you wanted, as in what you liked, so you can see where this is going, of course.
Yeah.
What you liked, how you liked it, and even with a hand, I mean, even watching it, a little bit inside me just crawled up and died, because it was so because we're so unused to asking for what we want. And sorry, we've digressed a bit, but it's such a powerful thing, and I think it's something that and that actually is a big thing, I think, with people pleasing and with not good enough as well. Probably in the bedroom, we're not going to get into, because I don't think we tick the explicit contact. Well, actually, we do tick the explicit context because Kate's got such a foul mouth. But it's not that sort of show, Julie, so I'm not going there. But that's actually somewhere where I imagine a lot of women would agree that they do a lot of people pleasing in the bed without asking for what they want, because they don't feel either not good enough or not worthy or not entitled, or a lot of us just are unable to ask for what we want, because it comes as such a shock that actually you're entitled to, that it takes a lot of working around to get there. Don't know.
Yeah. I think and we peel back the layers of the onion that we are, through all of this work with the animals and the guides, I'm realizing, and this is to me why Elise Lunen's book on our best behavior was so, I mean, it was illuminating, and at the same time I'm reading it going, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I see that, yeah, I got that, oh yeah, I do that, because there's just, it's so indoctrinated in who we are. And I'm realizing I didn't know what I wanted, how to express what I wanted, what I needed, how to, all of that. And the more I do it, the more I ask for what I want or what I need. If I just want help in the kitchen, or if I just want, like, my website, my husband is a creative director, so he had redone my website for me, did some new graphic elements. And we were actually camping a couple weeks ago, and someone emailed me wanting to have information about my sessions, and I went to my website to give them the link to they could learn more. And I realized that in mobile my website looked like shit, and I'm like, oh my God. So I said to him, like, hey, we need to fix this. And I had to keep asking, and we finally had time. He could do it yesterday, and now it's fine. But I had to keep asking, and like, no, my business has to come first. This brings in money in the house. My website has to look good. But that was hard to do.
I feel sick you just saying that, because I can't imagine me actually saying to demanding of Gary that he do something for me, because and I can blame him all I like, but A, I picked him, and B, before I even picked him, I attracted him, and I attracted him because I don't like to ask for anything I want. So I got a man who's not going to offer me anything unless I can see the patterns now, which leaves me in a bit of a fucking mess right now, because now I'm like, yeah, but I do want things. Well, I have to learn to ask for them, and that's shaking up the status quo. But it comes from a childhood of never being able to ask for anything, because I didn't get jack shit from my mum or my dad. Bless him, my dad was actually very sweet, but he was incapable of offering anything in terms of emotional support or love or anything like that. He was just unable to. My mother, less sweet, but also incapable of offering love, support, affection, any of those things. So I have grown up needing fucking nothing from anybody.
Yeah.
And then you get to the age where you go, I've got to learn to ask for these things. But the big hurdle is, oh my God, am I good enough? Do I deserve this? Am I worthy? And that's a real mind fuck when you're in your 50s.
Yeah. My mom actually told me when I was in my 20s, right, early 20s, that I was a taker, and that I took from everybody. And so, and I told Brad this story at some point, and there's a whole reason, there's a whole story behind it, but the story doesn't matter. But she started at that point and then would tell me I was a taker. And I remember telling it to Brad early on in our relationship. And to some degree, it's an inside joke now for both of us, because what he's always told me is so interesting. What he's always told me is that I'm not a taker. I have looked at myself through the lens of being a taker. And so I will make sure that I am not taking from anybody or anything. So I would consistently hold myself back and make sure I was always giving to whomever. And now that I say that out loud, because when you said your story, that reminded, the guides were like, yeah, remember, you're a taker, Julie, you're a taker. That's what she said to me. Then I just was like, Lucas right now is he's working with me now on learning to not only ask for what I want, but to receive. Because I've just put so much giving out there for so long. And if I were to take, I would do it quietly. Like, no one's home right now. So I'm just going to lay down for 15 minutes, but I don't want anybody, make sure no one will find me that I'm taking a nap, because I really need, like that kind of stuff is what I would do in an effort so that I would people please, so that people wouldn't think I was a taker.
That's so sad when you said that. That actually hit me here, because my mom didn't use those words, but it's just And I know your mum wouldn't have meant, well, whatever she meant at that time, you know, it's not a mother bashing, though we can. I've got plenty.
No.
You know, I don't think people realise this is where you go back to the importance of those words. You know, for someone to say that, because I didn't get that I was a taker, but my mum would always call me selfish. If I wanted God forbid, I wanted attention, I was attention seeking, I was selfish, I was a show off, I was all these nasty words if I ever asked for attention or look at me or, you know, anything. So, but those words, isn't that really sad that you are still unpicking that in your 50s, basically?
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
you know, it just makes, it's
Yeah.
sad. It's very sad. But
Mhm.
that explains a lot about people pleasing. Absolutely, because if you're a taker, no, you've got to give, and giving means giving other people what they want, which is the definition of people pleasing.
Yeah. Yeah. And denying what you want. Yeah. Yeah.
That's, wow. Got goosebumps. It's sad, isn't it? It's very sad. I think what I find most sad is that in our awareness of it, it's still really hard to do different.
Yeah.
But awareness, for any of you out there who feel, you know, awareness is the first step in all of it. And actually, soul level coaching has helped me a lot. It's helped me tremendously. If only in recognizing these behaviors that we do and looking at what's behind it, and going, oh my God, because like for so many of these things, they are so natural to us that we don't even know we're doing it. That's the problem, like the people pleasing. Came as a real shock to me to realize. I actually remember feeling I was annoyed when someone used those words, because I was like, because I saw a people pleaser as somebody who was weak, girly. Isn't that awful? Like a girly simpering, hey, what can I do for you, sir? You know, let me lick your boots, or you know, all those visions and ideas and judgments wrapped up in people pleasing, and that's actually not what it is at all. It tends, especially with women, tends to be a lot more efficient, working around in the background trying to work things out.
Yeah. And even putting all those judgments, which I actually do want to do, I think judgmental or being judgmental as a workaround one of these days, but you know, even doing all of that and judging it to separate ourselves further from our own people pleasing, our own identity, our own understanding of who we are. We do all that outward facing stuff, recognizing, and I'm putting that in air quotes for those of you who are listening to us instead of watching, putting, you know, people, you know, judging people or putting it outside of people in an effort to just keep it away from us. You know, oh, you do that, but I don't. You know, and typically when we see someone else doing it, it's actually a mirror back to us too, that we do it actually really well. Yeah.
That's
So
well, that's a good place to stop, Julie.
I think so too. Yeah.
I'm proud of the fact that we're actually keeping this way down in time now, because we used to.
We just used to meander. Yeah. So now we've got focus, people, focus. Yeah. All right. So actually this episode has come, will air right after you've been back, after you've gone and been back on holiday. So thank you for tuning in again to Making Light Two Humans Being, especially after we had a hiatus. We appreciate it, even though we are in fact good enough to take holiday when we need to.
Absolutely.
Yes. So if you are watching us on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. Please subscribe. Please share with your friends. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about people pleasing, particularly as it relates to the negative behavior of not good enough. If you are looking or listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, any podcast platform, please also subscribe, follow, link, or like, rate, all the good things so that others can find us too. We're super, super excited to keep these messages growing so that everybody has a chance to understand what all is going on with us as human beings. So as always, I am Julie Hirt, and with me is Kate Foggo. We are Making Light Two Humans Being, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Take care.